like, and then she became a tutor for School on Wheels, and she wrote her college essay about the student that she tutored, who was in 8th grade and had repeated it twice. And so my daughter said, there's no way this kid is not going to get through 8th grade. Every time she came to tutoring, she had her sister's baby that she had to babysit at that time and was sitting on her lap. So here's my daughter in high school tutoring this person whose name was Joy, and had not finished 8th grade yet. And so she graduated 8th grade, and then she moved out. And so my daughter wrote about that for her college essay. It's about how joy has new meaning in her life when she hears that word.
Yeah, that's really cool. What role do you think the parents play in children impacted by homelessness, like their schooling? Do you think, what do you think about that?
In regards to parents, that, like I said, the majority, up to 90% of the parents are single moms. We have some single dads where mom's not involved. We have some grandparents who are raising their grandchildren in shelter. But the thing is that parents that are impacted by homelessness, it's so hard for them to not be able to put a roof over their head or to have the food that they need for their kids, and there's a lot of shame and embarrassment for them. And also they are intimidated to go to the schools, because the school system can be intimidating even for a well-educated person. But some of our families have not graduated high school. English is not their first language. So if you go into a parent-teacher meeting and you see everybody else standing in the hallways and you're talking to the other parents, what do they really have to talk to them about? Usually we need to pay for a cab to drive them to the parent-teacher meetings. So why are they getting out of a cab when everybody else is getting out of the car? But they care about their kids' education, and they're so excited about School on Wheels. They're so grateful for what we do. And we also make sure that they are engaged in their child's education. We're not taking the place of the parents. We're providing an extra helping hand for the parents and the students. So the parent has a lot to do with it. When we do parent-teacher meetings, we make sure that the parent is there for that meeting. And if we speak to the teachers with the parents' permission, we always make sure that the parents get that information as well. So I think that they really care about their children's education. They want something better for their children than what they have right now. And they want their kids to get and break that cycle of poverty and to move on. And they clearly understand that education is what's going to empower them to move forward.
Yeah.
Do you think that the kids really have an appreciation of education after? Do you think that they really understand that that's what's going to get them through?
I think so, yeah. It's really cool to see kindergarten kids say, I'm going to college, and the parents said, they never even knew that word college before, but, that we really push hard to let them know that anything is possible, but they have to do the work. We'll help give them the resources and the caring adults to help them do it, but it's up to them. And I think that they do understand. I had one kid who, never brought his homework. He was in junior high, and we knew he had homework, and he didn't bring it. And he says, it doesn't really matter what my grades are because I'm going to be moving next month. And I said, so what do you think happens to those grades? Don't you think those grades move with you? He really thought that the school that he was at, that the school grades wouldn't get transferred. And I said, first of all, if you're not learning your multiplication and division, you can't do algebra. And so you need this, and not only do you need it, you deserve it. You deserve to have a quality education, and so it's really it's hard for the older kids. It's really hard because they've experienced a lot, and many of those kids are having to be adults and to help take care of their brothers and sisters and take on a lot of adult responsibilities.
Yeah.
What did you accomplish through your activism? We have to ask these questions.
Okay, that's
for
all
the
right.
program,
Yeah.
even though you've kind of already answered them. So, could you expand more on what you've accomplished for the children in the Schools on Wheels program?
Yeah, I think that the activism piece that you talked about is that School on Wheels, what is really important to us is that the community, especially schools and teachers, faculty, nurses, that they understand how homelessness impacts a child's education. So it's very important to us that we do community awareness events for local businesses, colleges. We go into the colleges and we'll speak to the social justice classes. We are asked often to go into schools and speak at assemblies. And we are also part of the McKinney-Vento meetings that take place in the Brockton community, and that we work with the homeless liaisons, the school nurses, who are the ones that identify the homeless children and make sure that they have the free lunch and free breakfast, and that if they have any health issues, and also clothing and those things. So we work with our community partners. We just started, one of the things that I felt very strongly about is after the earthquake in Haiti, I found out that there was several families living in our area motels here in Brockton that had no warm clothing and they had no food. Because they had no benefits before they moved to the United States, they were delayed getting benefits here. So I said, I was at a shelter partner meeting, and I said, well, this is unacceptable. And so everybody's looking around, they're saying, yeah, that's really sad. What are we going to do? And I said, well, we're going to start a Haitian group, and we're going to bring together the community. We brought in Haitian families, and they came and spoke to us and said, this is what we need. So it's as simple as that. You find out what they need, and we get it for them, right? Mm-hmm. So we did a warm clothing drive. We went to Harbor One. Harbor One filled up our whole office space with coats and scarves and boots. I talked to the homeless liaison in Brockton, and they have money through the McKinney-Vento. They purchased boots for every student. And but it was a lot of work to do. But what happens is that you're going to, all of you will experience this, that there's going to be things that you feel that are not right, that something should be done about it. And what happens is that it feels too big for one person. And so you just say, it's sad, it's awful, but I can't do anything about it. And I'm saying, when I hear about something, because this is what I witnessed with my parents, is that when I hear something that's not right, is that then I hold other people accountable. So I emailed all of our agencies in the community that we work with, and I said, I want you at this meeting, and I want you guys to make a commitment, and I want you to tell me what you can do. And so our Haitian families came in. You know, here they've moved here, and Brockton and Lowell and Boston were the largest gateway cities where families that had experienced the earthquake came to live. And one of the families came in to speak, and many of them speak, you know, French and Creole. One of the dads stood up, and he had his two young boys there, and he stood up and he said, I'm so grateful that you want to help me get food and you want to help get warm clothes for my children and my family. He says, but I need somebody to teach me how to fish. And everybody looked around and said, okay. He says, because if you give me the fish, then I will never move beyond my situation. He says, I have to build a new life. I was in Haiti. I had 2 degrees from Haiti. I had a job. I had servants. I lost everything, and I have to start over. When they moved here, they moved in with 2 other families into a very small apartment. They were, all of his family, you know, his 2 young boys, his wife, were sleeping on the floor in one room. So then they ended up moving into the motel at the Holiday Inn. They were there for over 9 months. He brought me into the room and showed me how they cook their food. There's no fridge, you know, there's a little mini refridge that they give. This whole room was turned into their home. This was their home for 9 months. So I worked with the community agencies, but I also engaged the person who's in charge of the Haitian, worked for the government in Boston, and he came out and they set up legal services to help the families get their aid sooner. And Richard Sharon was the person that came out, and I remember he came to one of the meetings and he goes, well, how did you guys put this group together? And I said, because there was a need and the community came together. But the most important thing is that you have to be vocal about that need. You have to use your civic voice. You have to stand up, and you have to keep saying it over and over again till somebody hears you. And to know that all things are possible, you know, by bringing people together. There's strength in numbers. I keep saying that, but it's so true.
And how do you measure or define the success in your Schools on Wheels program?
is to see that our students who might have walked into the tutoring room and the tutoring session with their head down and their backpack on, kind of walk out with their shoulders back and their heads up, excited, talking about that spelling test that they're going to go back to the room and study for because they made up flashcards with their tutor. Or to see a student who never knew how to read and who was in the second grade read his first book out loud to his tutor, and his mom standing in the doorway with tears in her eyes because she didn't know that her son would ever learn to read. And many of our kids have special education plans, but a lot of our students are environmentally deprived, is that they don't have the same vocabulary and experiences that other students have. So to watch a young kid who never learned how to read, to watch Lamar, who was our college student, who was our high school student living at the shelter, to watch him walk down the stairs of the shelter in his cap and gown, and to see all of the guys who were twice his age standing around singing na 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 na, and with tears in their eyes, high-fiving Lamar as he got in the car to go to his high school graduation, and then taking him to his college orientation day and going into the admissions office, and it said, "Welcome, Lamar, to Newberry College." And he looked at me and high-fived me and said, "I think I'm going to college." I said, "I think you're going to college too." And to watch him put on his chef uniform when it arrived at the School on Wheels office, and to watch him put it on with pride. To see Taylor, who was a student that was receiving services, now be a volunteer tutor. There's lots of successes at School on Wheels.
It's incredible.
Good old Jamie.
How has your choice to develop this program changed your life personally?
Say that again?
How has the development of Schools on Wheels changed your personal life?
How has your choice to become engaged changed your life?
Yeah, in every way. I'm going to cry when I think about it, but I really am going to cry.
I
usually don't cry about this, but
okay.
it's helped me be a better person. It's helped me be a better mom, a better wife, a better friend. It's also helped me realize that my whole life and what I thought was so important before doesn't really matter. Like, that's all temporary success. And the true successes are what I just told you about. So it's impacted me in many ways.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
That's like amazing
Yeah.
to do.